everyone. This is a strength circuit with a resistance band burnout at the end, and we're going to focus in on hamstrings today. Glutes as well, but particularly backside of the leg. So for our strength circuit, I'm going to give you 4 exercises, and you'll go through them 4 times using an interval structure of 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest. When you complete all 4, we'll give you a longer recovery time before repeating. For the resistance band burnout, it is a short, just under 2 minutes long sequence of movements using the resistance band. You do the sequence on the right, rest, left, rest, twice on each side. So for equipment today, for a strength circuit, you're going to need a set of heavy weights, and you're also going to need a pair of gliders because you will want 1 foot on each for the first exercise. For the weights, I'm using a pair of 20s. You can always have a lighter set on hand if you might want to drop down and modify. And then for the resistance band loop, it'll be a little sort of deadlift series that we do. So we'll have the band under our foot and gripped in our hands. So you can go heavy-ish, but don't go too heavy with the band because we do want a decent range of motion. I would recommend a medium weight if you do have a set. We'll start class with a guided warm-up, and then we'll go into our strength circuit. Before we get into our warm-up, I'm going to show you those 4 strength exercises. So first up, it's going to be a sliding hamstring curl in a hip bridge position. I love using the gliders for targeting hamstrings. We're not going to incorporate our weights for this one. So your heels slide out as the hips lower, heels slide in as the hips lift back up to that bridge position. You can always modify it by doing 1 leg at a time because that is a really tricky one. From there, we're going to isolate one side. Option to bring a weight onto your hip. It's going to be a single leg hip bridge, but we're going to keep that foot on the glider, and that's going to promote hamstring engagement because we're going to have to really keep pulling in so that we don't let that slider glide out. From there, we're going to come to standing, but we're still going to use a slider. We're going to grab both weights. It is going to be a sliding back lunge with a pulse at the bottom. By keeping that big hinge forward with the torso, we're going to really target the posterior side of the leg. And then we'll finish up centering off. It's going to be a double leg deadlift. Challenge yourself with the weights. You want to go heavy with that one. Hips hinging back and forward. We'll go through that 4 times. So kind of store that in the back of your mind. Let's do our warm-up first, and we'll warm up down on the mat. So I want you to come to a tabletop position. We're going to do a cat-cow, but we're going to make a circle with our cat-cow. So as you inhale and find spinal extension, you're going to side bend over to one side. And then as you exhale and round the spine up towards the ceiling, you're going to side bend over to the other side. So we're kind of making a circle with the body. As we do this, just mobilizing through the spine here. And then let's just switch direction of that circle. Exhaling as your spine rounds up to the ceiling. Inhaling as you find extension. If this doesn't feel good, you can always do a regular cat-cow instead. 1 more circle. And then let's elongate the spine to neutral, engage through the abdominals. And let's go into hip circles. We can start with our left leg with a donkey kick. So you're going to drive the left foot up to the ceiling. You're going to externally rotate, windshield wipering the foot over to the right. You're going to hinge the knee up forward to the outside of that left elbow, and then you're going to lower it down. So these are very controlled hip circles, mobilizing through the hip joint and firing up through the glutes, staying connected to our core. Switch direction of those circles. So now you fire hydrant open, you sweep it back, you rotate to parallel, you lower twice more. Now, next time you're in the donkey kick position, I want you to hold and just give me a little pulse up from here. So you're just kind of driving your foot up towards the ceiling. You're firing through the glutes to do this. You're not sinking into your lower back, so we maintain that abdominal engagement. Keeping the left knee lifted, we're just going to straighten out the leg and then curl the heel back in towards our bum, pointing and flexing through the ankle as we do in 3, 2, 1. So you're going to straighten the leg, pointed through the ankle. You're going to bend the knee, flexing. Elongate, curl it in. Keep your hips square to the floor. So we're not rolling that left hip up. We keep it pointing down to the ground along with the right. Give me 3. We go to the other side in 2. Last time. Left knee comes down. And now we're going to do those hip circles on the right, starting with the donkey kick so the foot drives up. We externally rotate. We swing the knee up to the right. And we lower it down. We're staying steady through the pelvis. It's the thigh bone moving within that hip joint. Reverse the direction of your circle. Start with the hydrant. So lift the right knee up to the right. Swing it back. Rotate to parallel and lower. We're going to hold in that donkey kick position. You're just going to give me a little pulse. Up and up. Waking up through the glutes and the backs of the legs. Holding the knee lifted, we'll straighten and bend, pointing and flexing through the ankle as we do. In 3, 2, 1. Point through the ankle as you straighten the leg. Flex as you curl it in. Up next, we'll be in tabletop. Both toes will tuck under. Knees will be at a hover and a bear plank. And we'll just lift the hips up to a down dog. In 3, 2, 1. Both knees down, tuck your toes under, and lift the knees up to a hover. And then from here, hips go up, heels go down. And then we just bend the knees back down to the hover. So just think bear plank to down dog. We'll come up to standing to finish up this warm-up. Next time your hips go up, hold them there. I want you to inchworm your hands in towards your feet. I want you to vertebrae by vertebrae roll it up to stand. And we're just going to do a hip hinge to a squat. So we'll start with a hip hinge. You're going to slide your hips back, staying neutral through the spine. Then you're going to bend through the knees, dropping into a nice low squat. You're going to drive through the heels to stand. We hinge, we drop to our squat, and stand. This hinge is the basis of our deadlift, which we will be doing later. Now, next time you come into the hinge, I want you to pause. So neutral spine, hips slide back, unlock through the knees. And then from here, just bend and press into those knees. So we want to really make sure we've warmed up the backs of the legs here. We're going to finish up this warm up with a little combo. We'll inchworm to a plank. We'll do world's greatest stretch. We'll inchworm back in. 3, 2, 1. Hands to the mat. Now, keeping the legs as straight as possible. If you're really tight through the hamstrings, though, you can always give me a little bend. I'm going to walk it out to a plank. Left foot steps outside left hand, left arm to the ceiling. Reverse it back to a plank, take it over to the right. When you're back in your plank, legs stay straight, hips pike up, inchworm your hands in towards your feet, and then inchworm back out to that plank position. Same deal, world's greatest once to either side. Pike those hips up, walk those hands in. And one final time, we walk it out to a plank, world's greatest to each side. And then from your plank, you're going to drop your knees to a tabletop. You're going to reach for your gliders. We're going to get right into our circuit. So for the setup on this one, you need space to glide. So you'll notice I have my mat back, so just my head, neck, and shoulders are going to be on it, and then my feet can slide. Now I have one weight just to the other side of me that I'm going to grab for that second exercise. So you want it close by, within reach. But our first exercise is going to be body weight only. It is going to be in a glute bridge position. It's going to be that heel slide out and in. This one is tough, but it is so good for targeting the hamstrings. So 1 foot on each glider. We're going to come down onto our back. Arms down by our side, feet are hips distance apart, and we're going to lift our hips up to a bridge. Fire through the glutes, reach your tailbone towards your knees so that we don't just crunch into our lower back. Now we're going to slide the legs out. As we do, the hips are going to lower, but don't rest your bum on the ground, and then you're going to slide those heels back in as the hips simultaneously lift up. So we don't first slide the knees in, then lift the hips. We want them to lift up and slide in as one, so that we really challenge those hamstrings. Now to modify, you can do one leg at a time. I have that modification playing because I know how tough this one is. Whew. We'll focus on the right leg up next. Left leg will be at a hover. Right foot is going to stay on the glider. Okay, so right foot stays on the glider. Now you have the option to grab a weight and put it on your right hip. You do not have to though. You could do this one body weight as well. So your left leg is going to be lifted, and from here we're going to do a glute bridge lift and lower. So your hips are lowering down and lifting up. So this is largely glutes, but by keeping our foot on the glider, we're going to have to fire up through our hamstrings a lot as well to prevent that foot from sliding out. So you want to keep the heel under the knee. Give me a little pause at the top of each. Oh, I've got like fuzz or something hanging from my heel. I'm sure no one noticed until I pointed it out. We'll come to stand up next and continue our work on this right side. Ooh, okay, come to stand. You can use one weight or both, okay? One would be modified. I'm gonna grab both. It's going to be a sliding back lunge. So now our left foot is going to be on the glider. Our right foot is going to be stationary, and we'll do that sliding back lunge from here. Now, the key is to have a big lean forward with your torso. Add a little pulse at the bottom, by the way. And then up to stand. So the lean forward, I'm keeping my shoulders over that front knee. That is gonna help me focus on the posterior side of the leg, those hamstrings. If I'm straight up and down with my torso in more of a split lunge position, that's gonna be more quad dominant. Nothing wrong with that, but not our focus today. So my back left leg is staying straight, my back left heel lifted high. If adding in the pulse at the bottom is too much, just do full range up and down. Whew, okay, rest. So now we're just gonna do double leg deadlift to finish. So feet are hips distance apart, open through the chest, palms facing towards your thighs. We're gonna hinge at the hips as we slide those weights down our shins and back up. So you are unlocking through the knees. We're not doing this with completely straight legs. But if you bend into the knees too much, then it's more like a squat, and it's more of a glute dominant deadlift, which again, a valid, great exercise, but not really our goal today. So I want you to think more hinge, sailing a little straighter through the legs, not locked out though. Open through the chest. So we stay neutral through the spine. Don't let those shoulders roll forward. 30 seconds to rest. All right, so we're gonna start back at the top with that sliding, or with that heel slide in our hip bridge position. This time when we get to our single leg exercises, left leg will be the focus. Okay, so we're laying on our back, heels under knees to start. Really press down firmly through those arms. Hips will be lifted, and maintaining pretty neutral spine, we slide out and curl in. Let's go. Legs slide out. Don't rest your bum on the floor. As the heels draw in, the hips lift up. I want you to exhale on the slide in. Think about closing the rib cage so we're engaged through our core. Push those hips up, up, up. Woo! So hamstrings and glutes are working together in this workout. It is not about isolating the hamstrings without the glutes at all. It's just about emphasizing the hamstrings. Woo! This one gets me every time. Oh, all right, lower those hips, grab the weight if you would like. You can put it across both hips or just on this left hip. Keep your left foot on the glider so that we're really challenging the hamstrings as well as the glutes. Right leg will come off the floor, and we'll do that single leg bridge lift, hips lower. Exhale, lift them up. So think of drawing your heel in towards your bum without actually moving it, because I want the heel to stay under the knee, but we have that traction in, and that is how we're gonna fire up through the hamstrings along with the glutes. You can absolutely do this one body weight if you prefer. We have that sliding back lunge with a pulse up next, so we'll come to stand. Woo! Don't let that heel slide out. Oh, all right. And we come to stand, just 15 seconds, so it's a quick transition. Left foot is going to be stationary. Right foot is on the glider. Sliding back lunge with that pulse at the bottom. You can use just one weight if two is too much. We need that big lean forward with the torso. So picture from the top of your head to that back right heel is one long diagonal line. Down all the way. We pulse it at the bottom, and then we slide all the way up. On that pulse, you're sliding. So you come up and in a smidge, down and out a smidge, then up all the way. Woo! Rest. All right, double leg deadlift. Open through the chest, connected to your core. Keep the hands in close to your body as you do this. They don't swing out away. They really just slide down your shins. Now, if you're tight through the hamstrings, you might not get super low in this, and that's fine. Maybe you just come to the top of your shins. I don't come much lower than that because I tend to be tight through my hamstrings. As you come up out of this, think of pressing your feet down into the ground. Hips draw forward. And rest. Whew. All right, let's take 45 seconds. So just a little longer now that we're at the halfway mark. 45 seconds to recover. We'll come down to the floor. The shelf is like about to fall. Don't mind me. Okay, there we go. I have a flower plant on top of it, so I'm like, if this thing tips over, that will not be good. All right, round 3. So we'll start with that body weight exercise, and then right leg will be the focus for 2. We center off. All right, feet on gliders. We find that bridge position. Arms down by your side, feet sitting bones distance apart. Hips lifted up, fire through the glutes, and we slide out. Toes can come off and in. Drag those heels in as you do. You press your hips up towards the ceiling. Woo! Switch to that modification one at a time if this is too much, okay? Exhale on the way up. Don't flare open through the front of your rib cage. Keep pushing up through the hips. Oh, all right, we're going to grab one weight. If you're choosing to add that in, it is going to go on your right hip. Or it can go across, okay? But either way, we'll have just that right foot on the glider. Left foot will be lifted to a hover. Let's go. Single leg glute bridge, down and up. Without actually moving it, you're thinking of drawing that right heel in towards your bum so that we're very active through the hamstrings and so that we don't let that towel start gliding away. We keep that foot planted where it is, even though it is on that glider. Again, give me that little split second pause at the top. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Level through the hips. To modify, you can have the ball of your left foot down on the floor for support, okay? So we would still have most of the weight in the right side, but we'd have that ball of the foot down to support us. All right, 15 seconds. We come to stand. So your left foot is going to be planted. Your right foot is going to be planted. Your left foot is on the glider. We have that sliding back lunge. Lift your back left heel up. We lunge down. Big lean forward. That's very important. Pulse at the bottom. Slide up to stand. Knee is staying over that front heel. So we're not letting it jut out too far. It should not be eclipsing your toes. 15 seconds to rest. All right, deadlifts. Palms face in. Open through the chest. Connected to your core. Hips are going to slide back. Hands slide down your shins, keeping that neutral spine. Let's go. Now, as you come upright, you're contracting through the glutes. You're also bracing through your abdominals so we don't hyperextend into our lower back at the top. Only go as far down as you can, maintaining a neutral spine. As soon as you start to round, that means you've gone a little too far. So depending on how flexible you are through the backs of your legs and through the hips, it might be a limited range of motion that you can maintain a neutral spine in, and that is absolutely fine. Rest, 30 seconds. All right, final time through. Final time through, and then we're done with our circuit, and we'll go into our band burnout. The band burnout will be more deadlift work, okay? So that double leg heavy deadlift, that's just kind of our appetizer to deadlifts. We'll do a whole single leg series. Okay, we got those heel slides. Let's find our bridge position. Feet on gliders. Fire through the glutes. And let's go. I'd rather you do fewer reps and make them good reps. So you can always pause in this bridge position if need be. You can also take that modification and alternate. Push the heels into the floor, curl them in. Again, you're not resting at the bottom, okay? So your bum may tap the floor, but you're not dumping weight into it and laying down at the bottom. Oh, all right, if you're gonna grab that weight, grab it now. Your left foot is gonna stay on the glider. Weight is gonna be on that left hip. The right leg will be lifted, or maybe you just lift the heel and we'll do that hip bridge, lifting and lowering. Let's go. 45 seconds, and then you are standing for the remainder of the class. We'll be done with our bridge work. Again, you're thinking of sort of drawing the heel in towards your bum without actually moving it. Almost there. Oh, all right, let's come to stand. Left foot is going to be stationary. Right foot will be on the glider. Sliding back lunge with a pulse at the bottom. Both weights if possible, but you could always just use one. All right, left foot planted, right heel lifted, ball the right foot on the glider. Sliding back lunge, up a few inches, down a few inches. Drive that left foot into the floor, come all the way up. Yes, the focus is this left leg, but check in on what your upper body is doing. I don't want you hunching or rounding forward. So think slight retraction of the shoulder blades, just to hold the chest open, okay? Oh, 15 seconds to rest. All right, last exercise in our circuit, then we move on to our band burnout. Double leg deadlifts. Ground down through those feet. Slide those hips back. You are not completely locked out straight through the legs. There is going to be a little bend to the knees as you slide down, but don't initiate with the knee bend. The hip sliding back starts it. And done. All right, we are done with the weights. You can put them off to the side. I'm going to show you our band burnout. So this is a 90-second burnout series. First, it's going to be a deadlift to a knee drive. So single leg deadlift, balancing as you do it, bring the knee up, hinge it forward. You have the band gripped in both hands. From there, from that deadlift position, you just tilt back into a hinged lunge, and then you're sort of kicking off back into that deadlift. So it's just this little motion. It's like a lever up and back. We then hold in the deadlift, and you're going to pulse your standing knee. It's a little bend and stretch. Now, I would highly recommend doing this series next to something you can hold onto in case balance is off, whether it's a couch or a wall or a chair. And then if that's the case, you would just hold the band in one hand, and in the other one, you would be helping yourself balance, okay? All right, let's get to it. We'll start on the right leg. So the band is going to go under your right foot, so stand on it. You're going to grab it in both hands or just one and hold on to something. And we will start with that single leg deadlift to the knee drive. So the left knee will be up at about hip height, and then you'll kick it back as you hinge forward. Now we are unlocked through the standing right knee as we go into that hinge. And we are square through the hips. So think of pulling this left hip down in line with the right. 45 seconds here so that you don't feel like you have to rush it, because I know balance often requires us to slow things down. So up next, we'll move between this deadlift position, this tilt, and we'll just plant the left foot down, falling back into a slight lunge, and then back into our deadlift. So we'll keep this back left leg straight. Let's go. So just plant it down. You're in a lunge. Kick off. You're in that deadlift position. Now notice I am never straightening my right leg all the way. Staying pretty low on that right side. It's just a slight tilt up and back. Woo, as I lose balance. So to finish up, we're going to be in the deadlift position, and it'll be a bend and stretch through that right knee. Or you can opt to just hold if the bend and stretch is too much. All right, hold, little bend and stretch, pushing against the band. Bend through the standing knee, stretch. Woo, and rest, 30 seconds. All right, we're gonna do that same thing. We're just gonna do it over on the left. So the band will go under your left foot. All right, so the band goes under our left foot now. Grab it in your hands. So the first 45 seconds, if possible, your right foot is staying off the ground the whole time. You're in that knee drive position and into your deadlift, single leg deadlift. I feel like the vibrate is so loud on this thing today. Ignore the vibrate sound though. Just focus on the beeps, okay? That's what matters. If you can even hear the vibration. Right leg will stay straight up next. Toes will plant lightly for that lunge, and then we'll kick off into our deadlift. All right, so from this deadlift position, just hinge back a little bit. Hinge is the wrong word. You kind of fall back slightly, and then you kick off back into that deadlift. Woo! Staying pretty low on this left leg as we go. We'll hold in that deadlift position. We'll pulse the standing knee to finish. Let's go. Final 15. Little bend and stretch through the left side. Bend and stretch. If you need some balance help, you have one hand on something lightly for support. Other hand grips that band. Rest. It's important that the other hand stays on the band because the band is creating more tension on this leg, increasing the challenge for us. All right, one more time through each side. So we'll go back to the right side. Band is going to go under that right foot. Left knee lifted, and then we'll kick that left leg back. Well, let's go. So if possible, try not to let that left foot touch the floor the whole time. These first 45 seconds anyway, I should say. Pull that left hip down in line with the right so that we're not rolling open through the hips as we come into that hinge. We unlock through the standing right knee as we tilt forward, but it is not a huge bend. And then we come upright. From our deadlift position, left toes will land on the ground. Just that little rock back and that little kick off back into our balance position. Let's go. So we just fall back slightly and then kick off. A little tilt. You can always choke up on the band if you want it to be a little heavier, if you want a little more tension. Sometimes a little more tension actually helps with balance. So it makes it harder in some ways, gives you support in other ways. Get ready to hold for that bend stretch. All right, hold. We bend and stretch through that standing right knee. And rest. Whew. Balance wasn't happening those last 15 seconds. All right, final time through, and then you are done with this class. We're going to put the band under our left foot to finish up. 90 seconds of work, and we cool it down. Let's go. We step on the band with our left foot. 45 seconds of the balance movement, so the knee drive to the single leg deadlift. Let's go. Coming up next, right leg will stay straight. We'll do that little shift back and that kick off. All right, let's go. Right leg stays long. Right foot lands on the floor lightly. Kick back off. Staying low on our left side. You got it in under 30 seconds. You are done. And we cool it down. We will hold the finish in that balance position, bend, stretch through our left knee. Let's go. Final 15. Bend and stretch. And done. Release the band. Awesome work. Woo! All right, I'll bring you through a quick cool down. To start, let's just find a forward fold. Unlock through the knees. And in this position, I want you to bend into one knee at a time. And as you do, dip that same shoulder towards it. So you have just this little sway side to side as you bend into one knee and then the next. We're going to inchworm out to a plank just for a second, and then hips will go up, down dog in 3, 2, 1. Walk your hands out to a plank position. Once you're in that plank, hi squeaky, lift those hips up, down dog. You can pedal out the heels. Our lower leg does a lot of work in that balance work, so it's nice to kind of show the calves some love here. Press both heels down and hold. Shifting back forward into your plank, I want you to drop the knees down, cross at the ankles. We'll come into a seated position. So mirroring me, you can take your left leg, stretch it long. Let's start with a side bend. So you're going to slide your left hand along your leg, maybe just to the shin, maybe you grab the foot, and then the right arm sweeps up and over, side body stretch. Just going to stay here a second, and then we're going to square it off so that we really hit the hamstrings. So I want you to square it off. Chest towards the leg. Both hands grab the foot or the shin, whatever. Think of pulling your chest forward and then down. And we'll take it to the other side when you're ready. Right leg reaches out, left in. Start with the side body stretch. Hand doesn't have to grab your foot, maybe it just comes to your shin. And then we'll square it off. Think, reach your chest forward, so kind of hinge here, and then lower it. Hands to your foot or your shin, your thigh, whatever works for you. We'll come to center to finish. Let's take one big breath together, find a comfortable seated position. We inhale, arms up. We exhale, release. And that is your class. Awesome work today. If you enjoyed this class, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post new workouts here for free every Monday with a ton of additional workouts available to Patreon members. All the info you need is at patreon.com/Nicole Pierce. I'll see you next time.